Please welcome Michel Lason.
Thank you very much. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. As a partnering country of Switzerland, I am Swiss. I also like to extend a grüezi to all of you. And I hope you had a successful CeBIT up to this point and had some very good insights. And let me try to give you some more, or at least some food for thoughts. You have the power to change the way we do business. You may say, okay, that's a hook to start a speech. And well, that guy is exaggerating, I'm sorry. And you may also say, really? The way we do business? And I say, yeah, okay, it's a hook, but also I mean it, literally. You notice that the title says X-ray and ultrasound for business. This is actually a quote. Professor Dr. Elgar Fleisch said 2008 about Internet of Things, digital transformation as such. Of course, I know these are not synonyms, but however, they share a same characteristic. For me, they are some examples of a structural change that is happening right now. And the best part is, it all is started by the ICT industry. It fundamentally changes markets and business logics. Think about it. We have now new means to see clearly what's going on in the whole supply chain, from getting the resources to the production, to logistics, and to the end customer, and the whole way back. We have the capability now, for the first time, to process a huge amount of data in real time while making use of historical data at the very same time. With new possibilities of interaction with the customer on one side, this will change the market and business logic for good in two ways. You know this. This is what everyone says, and so I'm going to keep this short. Firstly, customer centricity is key. The value chain has been torn apart and been newly reconfigured around the customer. The customer wants to be integrated in the production and provision of tailored services and products at any time from anywhere. Secondly, the value creation processes have changed in itself. Fields of application of ICT are now everywhere. And with that change, ICT has become a value-creating asset, not only supporting one like it used to. This means we are currently in a revolution of never-before-seen possibilities of production and provision of services and products. Processes are more responsive. Speed has increased. A higher quality in higher quantity, all the while by being tailor-made to the needs of the customers, and all this in all industries, from banking to farming. Thus, engaging and embedding ICT in the right field of application in the right way can release new value potential in the whole value creation process and provides for new business models. Thus, the big picture of business we have is getting sharper by the minute. And we have the capability to see clearly. This new clarity and transparency from customer needs and customer behavior back to production along the whole value creation has the capacity to change the business for good. Now you may say, why just the capacity? Doesn't it change business already? To what I say, not enough. Let me explain. Previous consideration focused either on economical or technological perspective. I bet most of the speeches you heard up to this point were about technologies, not about market potential, not about a business case, not about a revenue. And you may wonder yourself more often than not what to do with it. And you ask probably yourself, is there a market for that? So I say, economic, yes, really important macroeconomics view, what the politicians and the politics in Germany are doing is outstanding. Also in the US, in Switzerland, the whole Europe, everyone. This is getting momentum and this is important. On the other side, you have the technology view, open innovation. You have ideas going from capabilities, what can we do? And we start exploring what can be done. But what I want to do now is have a strategic look at the things. One example. Do you know Smart Homer on the lower picture? Smart Homer scans your TV program for Simpsons, and once Simpson is on, it automatically switches on the television, and you can watch Simpsons. This is great. However, I want to ask: is this a business? Is there something where I can really monetize upon this idea? And the thing is, we have recently found out in the working group of market and strategy of Industry 4.0 from Bitkom that the structural change has not yet unleashed its full potential and disruptive innovative power. So everyone is talking, and we're great at marketing. Let's look at this at CeBIT. Look at the economy. When we get all this, we think, wow, we're really up there. The truth is, we have barely started. And this I want to change. Because, you see, structural change doesn't simply happen. In the end, structural change happens as a result of strategic business decisions on strategic business level. These decisions in number make the change happen. And how are these decisions being made? By giving the right answer to this question. What is the business case? You may now ask or say, well, wait a minute, a lot of companies already do digital transformation, Industry 4.0, Internet of Things. And I would ask, well, do they really? Let's have a look at this. So in a lot of keynote speeches and speeches from CEOs, when the topic is Industry 4.0 or Internet of Things, they are invited to present what their company, what their multinational company is doing on that field. So what he does, or she does, is go inside the company and ask, what do we do in terms of Industry 4.0? And then they gather examples and then they show what is being done. And they present it as if this would be systematic and strategic, while the truth is, it's not. So I'm looking at the time. Oh, well, I'm good in the time. So what I'm saying is, really do this systematically and strategically for your company. And not only just do this opportunistically and stochastically and just picking out some examples and then presenting as if you would pursue this strategically. Instead, do this strategically. And how can companies achieve to do this? Basically, you have two possibilities. You can either start with your capabilities and skills and the technology and explore what is possible, what the capabilities are. And you may know already from this, you have a vast amount. The horizon of possibilities is endless. Or you can go the other way around and start with lucrative market segments. And then go on from lucrative market segments to identifying the need, and then go on to see what your capabilities are and your customer access are to these market segments, and then specifically build some technology to serve these needs. And this is basically what you can do. Both of these ways need to be reconciled at one point at the business model. And so the business model really integrates the strategic positioning and the value creation of the company and makes it whole. And from there on, you have a market, and then you have revenues, and then you have a strategic business segment. Both ways are possible, but think about it. starting with capabilities, you have this endless possibility. You get lost, and you make it a chance, a question of chance, whether you find the great idea or not. And I say, let's take the chance out of it. So I clearly suggest start with the market, not with your capabilities. And because it's a structured and tangible approach, clearly oriented to the market, and you can really make strategic decisions based on business cases. I'm not saying stop with open innovation. Don't get me wrong. Open innovation is crucial and is very important. But I say Industry 4.0, Internet of Things, digital transformation are far too important to just get to open innovation to tackle this. Because in the end, it won't be as disruptive, as innovative when there's no business case. So now let's go to the heart of matter. And how do I, as an ICT company, identify lucrative innovations in the context of digital transformation, Internet of Things, and Industry 4.0 that have a promising business case? In over 10 projects we did when we aligned new companies to strategically aligned the companies to Industry 4.0 and digital transformation, we used this framework. It all starts in the center with structuring the market. Why? Because the markets have changed. You have to newly position yourself in the market with changed circumstances, changed needs of the market players. And these existing market segments now function with a different logic. And in order to be successful, the companies, the ICT companies, need to readjust. And so this is basically where you start. And we start in the middle with the pre-analysis. Now, what does the pre-analysis mean? It means profiling, requirements, estimation, analysis. So what you do is you start by profiling the market. You slice the market anew based on the changed circumstances. And then you make an initial attractiveness estimation based on market potential and market volume at the moment. So at the moment, what is the market volume at the moment and what is the market potential? And then you have initially attractive markets. Then you focus on some that you think are attractive, and then you do the requirements analysis. You look for pain points, for hurdles. You identify the requirements of solutions to their needs. And you also think about distinctive characteristics that your solution must feature. Because newsflash, you are now a customer-centric company, and in order to do so, you're not selling products and services anymore, you're selling solutions. Now, this has been said way, way back, a lot of years, and now is the time. If you fail to adjust yourself to be customer-centric, you lose, and you're doomed to fail. So with this, now let's go first deep dive into the pre-analysis and with the profiling. I wish I could present you a framework that says this is how it's done. Unfortunately, I have good news and bad news. The bad news is there is no standard approach. There is no standard framework that I can present to you and saying this is how it works for all the companies. The good news is there is something like a meta methodology that may help you to identify the relevant market segments for you. So we have basically a matrix with two axes. The x-axis says what are your areas of application. Basically, your contribution to a solution. And then you have a second axis that helps you to segment, to slice the market. You have basically two best practices here. One, you go by the industry, or second, you go by the function of your value chain. Now what you see here as an example is a real project example that we used. So we were looking at the Industry 4.0 and tried to estimate the current attractiveness of Industry 4.0 market segments, and this was basically our framework that we did. So once you have this and have your initial attractiveness determined for all these segments, you go inside, you identify what the needs are, you get to know the segment, you gain an understanding of the market, so in order for you to develop a solution afterwards. You also think about the hurdles you have, the key success factors, and the factors that hinder you to becoming successful in this market. When you have done this, you go on and then you estimate these market segments in a final estimation, evaluation of attractiveness. Why? Because it's not only market volume and market potential, but it's sales potential and easiness to exploit this potential. So in the final view, in the final way, you just make this whole estimation, evaluation, and then you prioritize your market segments. Once you've done this and you've selected your segments, you go on and specifically change or modify the products that you have, or you develop new services and products specifically to the identified needs, and knowing what you need to fulfill in order to get business out of it. Once you're done with the product and services, you think about what the needs are while you provide this service, while the provision of service, while you are, for instance, manufacturing the product. And that's how you come up with additional services that you can monetize. They should add a value, of course. And once you've done this, then it's time to think about the business model. It seems to me that this is the holy grail at the moment. Everyone is looking for a new business model, and how do they do this? They start by taking their existing business with their existing market segments and think about, what can I do? What needs to change about my business model? And while I appreciate the effort, I say this way is wrong. Because you're in the middle of something and you're not using the right lever. So what you need to do is first get to know the market, adjust your products and services on a high level, the core part of your products and services, then think about additional services, and then it's time to think about the business model. Now, a lot of people don't make a distinction between revenue model and business model. However, there is a huge difference. While the revenue model is showing how the revenue is being created, the business model shows how value is being created. And so, thus, integrating the market view and the outside-in view and the inside-out view. So, there is the business model, and the business model needs to be tailored specifically to your products and your services. Once you have this, you basically have the blueprint to do two things. One, prepare your commercial way, and second, to plan your operational way. Both need to be balanced out, well balanced out. Why? Because one side is your revenue side, what you can do in the market, and the other one is your cost side. So of course, since you're a customer-oriented and customer-centric company, all your endeavors are focused on the customer. And so you do this by marketing it tailoredly to the segment that you identified. And a lot of companies fail at being commercially excellent, so they have a great product, a great service, they have a great business model on paper, but they fail to deliver it to their customer segments. So think about that. Think about what is your strategic goal, what are your strategic goals and objectives over the next 5 years, what is the real actual value proposition that you bring to the market segments, and then think about your products, your pricing, your messaging, and how you are going to sell your products and services. Once you've done this and you've mastered marketing excellence, sales excellence, or basically at the same time, you look at your processes and think about lean processes that create value. If you manage to happen both and be well balanced out, you're automatically efficient and flexible, since you deliver services and products based on your customers' needs. So now, some examples. We had this customer that we've done a new strategy for, and it's a strategically realignment of the whole company. It's about 1,000 employees, international software company with employees in Europe, Asia Pacific, and the US. And they were currently, or were focused on software in the SAP environment. We formulated a strategy to align the company to exploit the potential of Industry 4.0, using the approach I previously presented. We started by profiling the market and found out that for the company there were several attractive market segments that have valuable capabilities. So this is a key point. Not only attractive market segments, but when choosing and prioritizing, you need to make sure that you either want to go there or have some experience there or capabilities, or in the best case already access to the market segment. So what they did, or what we did for them, we said, this is something that you have capabilities in your company. So monitoring, controlling, and automatization across all industries. Why? Because they had a solution, a small solution, that was able to connect everything that had an IP address. And we were saying, well, this is exactly the platform, the technology that Industry 4.0 needs. And so we looked at the market segments, and then we found out basically that automotive and industrial goods and machinery are key industries for them to offer these services. And this is basically what they did. So they adjusted their middleware, and they connected everything that had an IP address, and they started with a small case. So they had a retail chain in Germany. When they would hook up all their printers in all their locations to one platform. And we're talking about a national retail chain. Think about of all the 1,000 printers that are in this network. And so it started with monitoring, and then the next part was to apply workflows to this very case. And so whenever there was a toner being empty in one of the locations, there was no human interaction until the new toner has been delivered to the doorstep. So that was the first time ever that one human interacted at all. So this was all automatically done with a workflow. So toner empty, order process being made automatically to the previously defined seller. The whole shipment was all done automatically until the package was delivered to that guy. I grant this is not one of your fancy Industry 4.0 cases, but this is something that was done systematically. So the next case was a company, an IT services company specialized in automotive. So this IT software company already had his access to the market segments and was the automotive market segments. We, again, evaluated the market attractiveness and prioritized 4 fields. Yes. We identified that the biggest challenge for the automotive part, it's the wrong slide, I'm sorry about that. You should think about the automotive slide and then the first 4 market segments. So we realized that the biggest challenges there was the integration of IT and manufacturing processes. So what the IT service company did with using their access to customers was to develop with one lead customer a new protocol that allowed to, from one system, steer and control the whole process end to end from the beginning of the specifications to the end of the process. And at first they also installed the monitoring process, and then they went to controlling, and lastly built a bidirectional protocol between production and IT processes, resulting in more efficient and flexible production with more process velocity. So now with these two examples, the so what. I was trying to underline my point, and that is, it's time ICT companies looked at digital transformation, Internet of Things, and Industry 4.0 from a strategic perspective, while still doing, to some extent, open innovation, because this is what keeps the technology on evolving and revolving, and but also do this strategically. Start by structuring the market and identify attractive market segments you have capabilities in and customer access to. And then really understand your selected market segments and specifically develop new products and services. Make use of your capabilities you have, but not exploratively, but target-oriented and with a business case. Be commercially and operationally excellent. It's not enough to think about new business model. Think about the segment, the products, the services, then the business model, and then walk the talk until the end. Be commercially excellent and be operational excellent as well. And remember, every change needs a business case. In any case, I can predict two things. Digital transformation, Internet of Things, and Industry 4.0 will at least partially destroy business of ICT companies. But new business will emerge. Digital transformation, Internet of Things, and Industry 4.0 will at least partially not affect business of ICT companies at all. But you need to be aware that business will need to be marketed differently. Think about what the developments were with CRM. You heard Salesforce before. This is happening to all the companies. Meaning, ICT companies need to deal with their chances and risks of digital transformation, Internet of Things, and Industry 4.0 dedicatedly, systematically, and on a strategic level. If an ICT company aligns itself strategically to identify and exploit the business potentials, it will, in the end, be successful. And the best part is, it's an area of growth that can be tapped without risking too much. You don't have to start big. Start with one segment that you think is profitable. Start with one pilot and see where you're going to go from there. This is how we make the structural change happening. If you do this, and if you follow my advice, you will transform into a company that is customer-centric, end-to-end. Customer-oriented, customer-centric, with the processes that follow this, this promise. You be ubiquitous, you be always and anywhere obtainable by the customer. You'll be specific to the needs of the customer. You be agile and flexible because you constantly adapt to the changed needs of your market segments, and you will be predictive, thus fast, because the needs are instantly noticed and met with reaction. And this is what you must provide for. And funny thing, these four traits are the key success factors of successful companies in the post-digital transformation world. Thank you very much, and remember, you have the power to change the way we do business.
Thank you very much, Michel Lason.